Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode here on BSing Sports, where we do a little on BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Sorry about that. I'm Bill. With me, as always, is Ryan and Tim. Um, if again, I keep saying this week in and week out. If you guys are keeping along, we're doing a prediction show and a recap show every week on Friday and Tuesday. And this is our recap show after the week of football that we just witnessed. At the end of the show, we'll give you a quick predictions for our Thanksgiving Day games. Ryan, fire away.
We will start this show off, this football show, with a baseball quote from one Greg Maddux. You know why I'm a millionaire? Because I can put my fastball wherever I want to. Do you know why I own a beachfront property in LA? Because I can change speeds. Amen. Thanks.
I actually like that quote. I like that quote a lot, actually. I tell you what, I'll come with an inspirational quote on Friday for us.
I don't know if it's going to beat Greg Maddux.
I got a couple in mind that are really good. I don't know if they'll beat that, but I got a couple of good ones. You know, there's always the great ones. You miss every shot you don't take. That's always good. But I'll think of one.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Sports show out there.
But Tim, that was way loud. What did you just do?
Oh, I spoke into the mic. I'm sorry.
It's amazing how clear you sound.
I haven't heard that before.
Wow. But yeah, so let's get into it with our recap show. We discussed the Titans and Packers on our Friday recap show. So let's move right into the first set of games here. Panthers at 3-7. We're visiting the Ravens at 6-3. This game ended up being significantly closer than I think any of us really realized it was going to be. Not to mention super low scoring.
It was you've got game. It's the worst game on the docket.
Definitely
horrendous game. Why did you do that? Go back to what I want. There we go. Sorry. The computer is not cooperating with me right now. Ravens end up winning that game 13-3, but I'm pretty sure going into the fourth quarter, it was a 3-3 game. Lamar Jackson looked like hammered dog crap. Duvernay couldn't catch the ball. And overall, both offenses just looked horrendous. As a result, now Sam Darnold will be starting for the Panthers, and Baker Mayfield will be acting as his backup quarterback. Tim, give me your thoughts on the Ravens and how they struggled to get past the Panthers today or on Sunday.
I don't even know. They couldn't get the running game going, apparently. Kenyon Drake only had 2 carries through the whole game, I think it was, and 1 pass, and then he got negative yards, apparently. But on the Ravens side, there was one receiver. I have him a couple in my league. Let me get his name real quick.
Marcus Robinson, baby.
Yes, that's him.
League winner.
I played him in a big spot. I needed him to do good, and he put up 21 points, and I was ecstatic. But the Panthers have a good defense. That defense is very underrated for some reason.
They're a horrible defense. That's why they're underrated.
They held the Ravens to 13 points. How horrible can they be?
They held the Panthers to 13 points. That's to 3 points. That's the standard for being a good defense now.
No, he's saying the Panthers defense. Oh. Yeah.
I'm not saying the Ravens.
Oh, you said the Ravens to start.
Because I was talking to the Ravens and then I said the Panthers.
Yeah. He's so listen, you're right. Since the Panthers have made a coaching change there, Matt Rule out, I can't even think of the name of the coach right now. And the whole team has just played better. They look more motivated. They're like they don't want to just go out and lose games. Say it again.
Well, the defense anyway.
When you've got quarterbacks named PJ Walker, who was playing pretty decent, Baker Mayfield, how much are you really expecting? You're talking, you thought you had a franchise quarterback in Cleveland and you trade him out of there to go get Deshaun Watson, who you knew was going to be suspended for a certain amount of time when you go and pick him up. That means that the Browns saw that Baker Mayfield was not a good quarterback and decided to, offload him over to the Panthers. Now, for the Panthers, you were hoping that there was some resemblance of the quarterback that took the Browns to the playoffs a couple of years ago. He's not. So yes, I would agree that the Panthers defense is playing pretty well right now. But I'm more concerned about what the Ravens didn't do versus what the Panthers did do. So Ryan, Ravens didn't do
anything right. To be honest with you, that's the key here is that the Ravens played down to their competition. Look, the Panthers do look like a better football team since they moved on to Steve Wilkes after getting blown out 35-0 in one half by the Cincinnati Bengals. But they're not a good football team. They're playing, a little bit better than we expect them to, but this is more about the Ravens and how down they played. This is a team that we obviously have big playoff expectations for, competing for a division title in the AFC North, and they just came out and played completely flat at home once again to a team that they should have crushed. And they couldn't run the ball to save their lives. Outside of a 29-yard run, Kenyon Drake has 9 carries for 17 yards. That's unacceptable. Lamar Jackson averages under 3 yards a carry. That's unacceptable. They couldn't get anything going. The lone bright spot was Demarcus Robinson, and usually when you have a receiver that does that, well, you got to think, well, Lamar Jackson must have had a pretty decent passing day too. He didn't. Well, no touchdowns, 1 interception, a passer rating of 75.8. He just wasn't good. The Ravens were not good. They completely played down to their competition here. I'm very disappointed in them.
No, and yeah, I'm right there with you. If you're a Ravens fan and you're looking at how they've played throughout the season, especially at home, you're nervous.
And again,
you just are.
Especially again, they keep screwing this up at home.
Yeah, exactly. You're nervous as a Ravens fan trying to push towards the playoffs because now you're not getting home field advantage. It doesn't look like you've blown big leads in the fourth quarter 3 separate times. And then you barely hold on to a win against the Ravens team who just is not good, as Ryan alluded to.
Yeah. What's funny? I saw on, I think, CBS on Sunday that they were doing the AFC West playoffs prediction. 3 of the 4 guys had the Ravens in the 2nd seed. Over Miami, over Buffalo, over the Jets.
Well, that's because once you hit the wild card spot, you're either a 5, 6, or 7. So whoever wins the AFC West East is probably gonna be the 1 seed, and then the other 3 teams can't be any better than the 5th seed.
Yeah, I get that, but over Miami or Buffalo, though.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Only one of those teams can be the one.
I'm saying that. I get that. I'm saying they having the Ravens over them in the 2nd seed.
Yeah, he's saying either the Dolphins or the Bills in the 3 seed rather than the 2 seed.
So, all right. So actually, we'll just break this down for the viewers out there too. So the way that the playoffs are shaped up, it's not necessarily based on your record. So the way that it goes is the best team that wins their division record-wise in the AFC will be the number 1 seed. And then it's the 2nd best division winner is the number 2 seed. And then it's the 3rd best division winner is the number 3 seed. And then the 4th best division winner is the number 4 seed. Then your top wild card team takes the 5th seed. And then the 2nd best wild card team takes the 6th seed. And a new addition, very recently, the 3rd wild card team takes the 7th seed. So only 1 team in the AFC East can win the AFC East. That's who they're projecting to be the top. So you're saying Miami or Buffalo. Buffalo or Miami will be number 1.
No,
then
they don't have
5, 6, and 7.
They had the Chiefs at 1. That's the point.
They had the Chiefs at 1.
That's the point he's trying to make.
I think what's probably going to happen is that those teams will sit there and beat up on each other just enough where the Ravens won't have. The AFC East is just so much harder. It's a gauntlet than the AFC North. The AFC North is terrible as a division.
Not only that, Ravens have the easiest schedule remaining in the NFL. They were saying it all day on Sunday on Red Zone while I was watching that the Ravens, coming out of this game, going into a 7-3 record right now, have the easiest schedule in the NFL remaining. Something to watch. I don't think they're the 2 seed, but it's something to watch. So Bears 3-7 visiting the Falcons at 4-6. Timmy and Ryan take the Bears. I take the Falcons. Sorry, all 3 of us took the Ravens. I take the Falcons. I am victorious on this one in what was a great game, and we talked about it. Sometimes Ryan said, these even keel teams give you better games than the ones that you think that are in the winning column and supposed to be really good games. And this Falcons-Bears game was really good. It's unfortunate Justin Fields gets injured, goes out of the game there at the end. Shoulder injury of some sort. I haven't heard anything yet.
He dislocated his shoulder. He's day-to-day.
Okay, thank you.
Not going on too.
But yeah, so the Falcons come out victorious. I took them mostly because they were the home team and also because they've shown me a little something. But listen, it was a hard-fought game, and it was gritty until the very end, and Falcons came out victorious. Ryan.
As predicted, there were a ton of rushing attempts in this game. This was two very run-heavy, dominant teams. Justin Fields has been outstanding with his legs, the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think the big issue is going to come if you look at this game and the game against Detroit is, can he ever throw the ball in big spots? He has to improve, as a passer, at least a little bit, enough in the NFL for the Bears to, be competitive, win games. And to his defense, they don't have great weapons on the outside. Chase Claypool, probably their best receiver, but either him or Darnell Mooney, they're not a true number one wide receiver in the NFL. So when you break this down, Justin Fields has to get better as a passer. The Bears have to help him out a little bit as well. On the other side of the football, the Falcons continue to do this stuff, man. They continue to make us question why Marcus Mariota is the quarterback, and then they go out and they win these hard-fought, tough games, and it's like they're still in the thick of things, as much as we probably don't want them to be. They're still very well within the running of their own division title. So it's a very interesting thing going on in Atlanta. I think as far as that team is concerned, they're outperforming their own preseason expectations, so they're in a tough spot as well. That combined with the fact that the Buccaneers can't seem to get out of their own way, but that's a later conversation.
Yeah, I would agree. Tim?
Yeah, Ryan made a big point about Justin Fields being better at the passing game. There was one play I remember significantly. Darnell Mooney was wide open, and Justin Field overthrew him by 10 yards.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
No, and wide open. He had the defender fell down and everything, so open, but he, like Ryan said, there were a lot of rushing attempts. Justin Field, Marcus Mariota, Cordell Patterson. He'd like to give a congratulations to him for breaking the kickoff return record for 9 of them in his career. Good for him. And he's still getting it done on the ground. He's such a good downhill runner that, he gets hits in the backfield, but his feet keeps going.
Let's talk about the Cordarrelle Patterson transition. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm really sorry. But you're talking, it's a guy who was drafted late as a wide receiver, mainly as a return man, and now has completely changed his entire dynamic, bulked up, and become a really good running back for the Falcons. So, kudos to Cordarrelle Patterson for breaking the record with 9 return touchdowns in his career. So he overtakes, I believe, it's not Devin Hester. Who is it?
For kick returns, it is Devin Hester.
So it was Devin Hester. And he gets the record, but the transition that he went through in his career, that not only is that physically grueling, that's mentally grueling. And again, so much kudos to Cordarrelle Patterson. Congratulations, buddy. Sorry, Tim, you can continue.
He's not getting an outstanding amount of touches every game, but he's effective with the touches he is getting. And he's 31 years old. He's not a guy that's going to carry the rock 25 times a game.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. David Montgomery looked pretty well without Cleo Herbert in the backfield taking some hits on carries. So it was a lot of rushing attempts, and the Falcons had it better at the end. It is what it is.
The Bears ran the ball 41 times, and the Falcons ran the ball 33 times.
A lot of rushing attempts.
Tim Hawkins, I'm going to look that up.
Cordarrelle Patterson, he was a first-round pick. I forget where he went to college, though.
I love how you can remember all this facts, Ryan.
I see it once and I remember it. And if it's relevant to what I'm going to be talking about, then I try to make a point to remember it.
Okay.
He went to Tennessee. That's where he went. Yep.
Fun facts over here at BSing Sports.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm over here trying to find out when he was exactly drafted. My computer's not...
First round, 29th overall in the 2013 NFL Draft.
There you go. Your phone skills are better than my computer skills. Apologies.
That's another thing. I know where to look. I know where the information is going to be, so I can find it easier.
That's fair. For those of you wondering, I've got I shouldn't talk about it because it's for work. I'm set up. Next game, Browns.
I beat him on the phone. Just saying.
Yeah. Browns at 3-6, Bills at 6-3. We all took the Bills in this game, and actually, this one was kind of a competitive game in the sense that it took a while for the Bills to get going. Not necessarily that you thought to yourself, "Oh, the Browns could really pull this out," but it took. I think the score at the half was relatively close, 17-10 or something close like that. And the Bills finally, put it together in the second half, put up another 2 touchdowns and pulled away. They win 31-23. But the Bills needed that, ending a 2-game skid. They needed to come out and be victorious here. Tim, let's talk about the Bills a little bit. Do you think that they're the 1 seed in the AFC?
No, I don't. Not right now. They're losing too many close games that they should be winning. I think it's gonna be Kansas City at the 1 seed. But going back to the Bills, yeah, it was 17-10. Josh Allen did not look great in this game. He didn't target Stephon Diggs once until the end of the second quarter. And Diggs had a conversation with Sean McDermott on the sideline. I don't know what it was about, but after that, he started getting the ball passed to him. So maybe Josh Allen gets trying to spread the ball around. Who knows? But in the second half, they picked it up, scoring. And in this 2-game no score second half streak. And then the 2-game losing streak. So that we know Bills are a good team. They get to have to put everything together all at once. With the 2 corners coming back, it's gonna help them.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, the Bills.
Yeah.
You think get the 1 seed?
So do I think that they're going to be the 1 seed? Off the top of my head, I'm going to say yes, actually. And there's a very critical component there is they own the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
If them and the Chiefs finish with the same record, they own the tiebreaker. So that's what it's really going to come down to. Essentially, if the Bills win out, the Chiefs have to as well. So that's going to be a tall task for either team to ask. But they do finish with the same record. So that's on 1 point. So yes, I do think. And then as far as that game went, this was a much-needed game for the Bills, not because they won, but how they won. They were held to 13 points at halftime, kicked 2 field goals, and this is a team where we had documented on the previous week they hadn't scored a second-half touchdown in 4 consecutive weeks. They go out and they score 2. And hats off to Denzel Ward and that Browns defense that he held Stephon Diggs in check for most of that game outside of the touchdown pass where Diggs found himself wide open in the back of the end zone. I think that this was a very good game. I think that the Browns are a very competitive team. I don't think that Deshaun Watson is going to somehow save their season when he comes back, as I've reiterated multiple times. I think that he's going to come in rusty. I don't think that he's going to make this team much better. Give them a full offseason. Give him some time to practice with these receivers. They have talent on both sides of the ball. They just got to come together and utilize that talent. But yeah, it was a good football game, and I think that this was the way that they won makes me happier than the fact that the Bills won.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, which is kind of what I was trying to get at, but you worded it better than I did. The way that they won this game was better and more inspiring for the Bills, The Lions at 3-6 taking on the Giants at 7-2. Timmy and Ryan take the Giants. I took the Lions, the very large underdog Lions in this game.
I think they were only 4.5-point dogs.
They were
4.5-point dogs. You're right.
Yeah.
They're 4.5-point dogs on the road too. So really, they're only 1.5-point dogs. They routed them. It wasn't like at any point in this game you thought the Giants were in this game, because they were not. The Lions came to play, and they kind of exposed the Giants a little bit on what they don't do well. If you can stop the run against them, which the Lions somehow did this week. Daniel Jones can't beat you. Point and simple. Daniel Jones can't beat you. And then, you turn around and you have the ball for a majority of the game and you go out and you score points. I mean, the formula for winning is not difficult in the NFL, right? And the Lions put it on display against the Giants here, a team that, was sitting at 7-2 at the time. But Ryan, the Giants, do you believe that they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender?
No, I've always thought that their ceiling at best was NFC Championship game, and that's if all the dominoes fell right. As we've touched on before, they're a very one-dimensional team, and these shootout games scare you for the simple fact of what we saw on Sunday. Daniel Jones can't win you a football game through the air. At least he hasn't shown it yet. And if there was any game where he should have shown it, it was against statistically the worst defense in the NFL in the Detroit Lions. Saquon Barkley, 15 carries for 22 yards, no touchdowns. His longest run was 4 yards. So the Lions came in with a game plan, executed it to perfection, and then forced Daniel Jones to beat them. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a great game for Daniel Jones, although he did go 7 for 90 and a touchdown on the ground. That's fantastic. Same thing with Justin Fields. Got to be able to throw the football in these big spots. it just didn't happen for the Giants. Now, I think that they're a better team than this, but I think this was the type of game that was making people skeptical of their record to begin with. So I think that this wasn't unforeseeable. Whereas, the world was on fire when the Eagles lost to the Commanders on Monday night at home, that this was kind of like we could have saw this happening.
Tim?
Yeah, I think it was last week. Me and Ryan both said we see them being a track game. We see the Lions outscoring the Giants, but we had to go with the Giants because of the whatever why we went with the Giants. But the Lions played it very well. They ran the ball, controlled the time possession of the ball. They scored 3 rushing touchdowns with Jamal Williams, who now leads the league.
Yes, he does.
And sitting on my bench in half of my leagues, apparently.
Nope, I got him started.
But yeah, Jared Goff made the right decisions in the passing game with Amon-Ra Brown. I think he had 1 interception. I'm not too sure. I'm not positive.
He did throw 1 pick, yeah.
All right. Daniel Jones, from week 3 until week 11, didn't have an interception. And now he had 3 in 1 game, I think, or 2. It was 2 in 1 game. So it shows you like their game plan is to run the ball and run the ball nonstop. And once you stop it, we don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to go in a little bit of a different direction. The Lions have their first 3-win streak, since 2010. That's not right. I had the stat earlier. I should have wrote it down. Anyway, it's the first time in years that the Lions have gone on a 3-game win streak. They're about to get even healthier with Jameson Williams, rookie, coming off of the PUP. He should be able to play, if not this week, then by the next.
He's slated to play in December, so they'll probably take all 3 weeks.
Okay. My question here for you guys is: we had discussed when the Lions were 1-6, if Dan Campbell was on the hot seat. Do you believe that Dan Campbell is still on the hot seat, Tim?
No, I don't think he was in the hot seat to begin with. I mean, the fans wanted him fired for going 1-6 because you know how football fans are. Once your team isn't doing good, you want a new coach, new players. It is what it is. But I never thought he was on the hot seat. He had them playing very well. He lost a lot of close games, a little bit of bad coaching decisions in the defense and offense side of balls. But the Lions didn't really help him out by they got Aiden Hutchinson will help them try to stop the run game, but they still have one of the worst run defenses in the league still. So you need to give him a little bit more opportunities with a little bit better defense before you can say he's on the hot seat.
Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, he was never on the hot seat, in my opinion. I specifically remember saying that this defense was way too terrible and terribly under-talented to be able to judge Dan Campbell on this. He was definitely going to get a 3rd season.
So in the draft, do you think they're going to go defense?
Like I said, they're in a weird spot with Jared Goff. They either opt him out this year for $6 million, I think it is $6-7 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, or they have him for 2 more years. So they're in a weird spot with him.
Yeah, so based on what Ryan just said, it depends on where they fall in the draft, because if they keep winning games, obviously their draft pick isn't nearly as high, and then the quarterback class doesn't look as, wonderful. However, there is a free agent quarterback that's probably going to be available, not probably, more than likely going to be available, in the name of Jimmy Garoppolo. And he's looked pretty decent this season. I had 2 teams that he might go to. I had 3 teams that he might go to. 2 of those teams faced off in the Giants and the Lions. If Jimmy Garoppolo goes to the Lions, that is a better team than they are with Jared Goff, especially with a 2-headed monster like DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I think that they aren't that far away from being competitive, especially in that division where right now it only looks like the Vikings want to play football. That's just how I feel about it.
I'm looking through the Lions' schedule, and something interesting worth pointing out. If the season were to end today, every single loss the Lions has suffered is to a team that would be in the playoffs if the season ended today.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've lost to the Eagles. They've lost to the Vikings. They've lost to the Seahawks, who would be the 7th seed. They've lost to the Patriots. They've lost to the Cowboys. And then they've won their last 3 games.
And that's where the Lions. So like I'm saying is, yes, if they are able to affirmatively get Jimmy Garoppolo before the draft starts, I think they should absolutely go 100% balls to the walls in the draft on defense.
See,
Yeah, if
I
they
don't.
if they can acquire Jimmy Garoppolo, sure, because I think he's a better distributor of the football than Jared Goff. But it's the money situation is going to be where Jimmy Garoppolo is looking at getting a nice little payday here. So we'll see. There's some weird free agency stuff going on with the quarterback market because Tim and I were on the same page last week when we talked about Derek Carr being released by the Raiders and that he's going to be a Saint. Jimmy Garoppolo could very well end up a Saint too. So
Yeah, that's true.
See, I don't think Jimmy G would be a Lion because they drafted Jameson Williams. He was a deep field down the threat type of guy. You're not gonna waste a draft pick like that. So they're gonna get someone who can sling it down the field, I think.
yeah,
I
but I
don't
mean,
think Jared Goff
you
is
could
that
use
good.
Jamison Williams in the same way that they use Brandon Ayuk. I
True,
mean,
right, true.
if you want to comp Jamison Williams to Tyreek Hill, which was his ceiling competition or comparison coming out of the draft, Tyreek Hill catches short passes and does his damage after the catch just fine. So
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Rams 3-6 visiting the Saints at 3-7. I remember all three of us didn't want to pick this game, and then all three of us did take the Saints, and we were all right. We all got lucky. It was another one of those sloppy games that you don't really want to watch. And the Saints come out victorious. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than the
it
Rams.
was a
are just
higher
bad.
scoring game than I thought it would be. It was a much higher scoring game than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's 27-20 was the final score on that one. But again, it was just one of the the Rams are just bad. The Saints aren't exactly good, and that's what you had to deal with.
At one point, I saw the backup quarterback for the Rams running a little bit of scramble drill, and Allen Robinson was wide open in front of his face, and he decided to run the ball instead.
It's just these things happen when you're a bad team, right?
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, it is what it is.
I don't really have much to talk about on this game. Ryan, you got anything?
Other than the fact that Matthew Stafford has seemingly re-entered the NFL's concussion protocol and nobody seems to know why. Nobody can point out the hit that would have done it or whatever the case may be. He's playing a pretty good football game until he got pulled out. This seems to be a really mysterious situation that is definitely worth following.
Yeah, I've read that as well, making you wonder if he were ever out of the concussion protocol and how he convinced them that he was out of the concussion protocol.
I thought he got like slammed down on the ground or something, hand on his shoulder.
I didn't see the play.
I think that his last pass was a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So listen, concussions are lingering. They're not like this type of injury that are like, oh, I'll never feel this again. Like concussions are lingering, and the reality of it is, for all we know, he ran in after the touchdown and headbutted somebody like a jackass and like a donkey, and ended up re-aggravating whatever was wrong in his head. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes people get injured by celebrating. Like we've seen it across all sports, jumping up and down, tearing an ACL, stuff like it happens. So it could have been as simple as that.
You're right.
Jets at 6-3 visiting the Patriots at 5-4. This is one of those other games that was super low scoring until literally the very end. Patriots come out victorious 10-3. All three of us take the Patriots, so good for us. But this is one of those games where I know it was really windy in New England. But Zach Wilson completed, I think, 6 passes, 6 of 22 for less than 100 yards.
22.
There it is, 9 of 22.
For 77 yards.
It was a terrible game.
It's a divisional game. You're in a playoff push. You can't play like that. Cut and dry. Ryan, so obviously we took the Patriots. You think the Patriots can make a push in the playoffs?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I mean, I don't think that they're a talented enough team to win a Super Bowl, but especially with an expanded playoff, I think that they more than not have the capabilities and the coaching staff to put them in position to succeed. They win gritty football games. They run the football well. It's really all on their quarterback, and their quarterback make plays when necessary. Can they do what we talked about Justin Fields and Daniel Jones have not? Can they make plays when they're asked to make plays? Fortunately, they didn't have to this week. The defense – or not the defense, special teams made the play this week. Let's touch on Zach Wilson, though, real quick. So in his post-game presser, I don't know if you guys have seen this video yet. Yeah. Asked if he let his defense down, and he said no.
That's what
how do you guys feel about that?
It's like that meme, why you always lying guy. Mm-hmm. But, man, that's a terrible way to go about it. Gets no, like, give a better explanation than that. You're professional football player, you let your team down, and you know you did. You take it on the chin and move on to the next week.
Listen, we discuss it week in and week out. Quarterbacks are always going to take the blunt of the blame when stuff goes wrong, right? There was, I think, 4 drop passes from Zach Wilson, but other than that, he really didn't look accurate. He didn't look good. But for a reporter to come out and be like, "Hey, you didn't really have any kind of drives that were effective and efficient. Do you think that you let the defense down by not staying on the field longer? They were on the field longer, ended up leading to that last touchdown." And his response being, "No, I think you really have to address it differently. Like, I wish we had done more to help the defense. Like, word it differently. Like, I wish we had done more to help the defense. Had we done more, obviously they would look better. However, the defense played great today. It's unfortunate that we lost." Something along those lines versus no. So as a player, like a team player, I didn't like it. But Zach Wilson, I don't know how conversationally articulate he is to have known to be like, I need to word this differently. Obviously, he was disappointed and he was emotional after the game and he was upset that he played as crappy as he did. So he just gave a blunt answer. But he in that scenario where they're asking you, "Hey, your teammates, you let them down. Do you think you let them down?" He needed to word it differently.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I didn't like that response at all. It would have rubbed me the wrong way, especially as a defensive player on the team. The whole offense wasn't good, but the whole offense obviously in the NFL starts with the quarterback. So I think just even if he really didn't believe it himself, just taking the blame for it, being like, "Yeah, it was my fault," would have gone a long way in the locker room there. The Jets also averaged 2.77 inches per play in the second half. That's a horrible, horrible stat. They punted 10 times in the whole game and had 9 first downs. So they were abysmal offensively. Defensively, they were great. They were everything that I expected against, I guess a decent offense at best. But yeah, no, those are the kinds of games that the Jets are going to have to win. And we're going to sit here and ask the question again and again: is Zach Wilson going to be able to do what we just talked about with Fields, what we just talked about with Jones? Can you step up and make the big plays when we ask you to? It's the difference between guys like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and Zach Wilson. And, you skill sets aside, Tom Brady doesn't have any athletic skill set. He just makes plays when he's asked to make plays. He's done it his entire career. So you can have the biggest arm. You can be the fastest runner. If you can't make plays when they count, what does it matter?
You're correct. Tim Hawkins has a comment in the section.
He says, how do you feel about the Jets not committing to Wilson? That's part of what I was leading into. So Tim, I'll let you answer that question. So obviously the Jets have decided not to just say Zach Wilson is our starter this upcoming week. How do you feel about that? Like, what's that really say about how the Jets feel? Robert Saleh feels about Zach Wilson.
I think that they're still going to go to Jeff Wilson because Zach Wilson. I know I get these names messed up, but listen, Joe Flacco played 4 games when he was hurt and played pretty well
in one.
And immediately went to Zach Wilson right afterwards when he got back healthy. They didn't even hesitate. I think them not committing to Zach Wilson right now is to give a little bit of competition. Hey, it's not your spot. You can lose the spot immediately if I wanted you to. So do better. That's what I think that is.
I like that take. I really do like that take. To your point, Joe Flacco goes 3-1 in those 4 games that he starts. The Jets offense has not been it was almost identical up until this game, how Joe Flacco played versus how Zach Wilson played. You got me too, Tim. Way to go.
How you feel? Ryan turns next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But no, I do like your take of it opens the competition door. Like, Zach, this ain't your job. Flat and simple. I disagree, though. I think it is 100% Zach Wilson's job. And if he's going to lose it, it'll be in the offseason. It won't be during the season. But the Jets also have to be extremely mindful. They're in a playoff race. And if Zach Wilson isn't the quarterback, they need to know, and they need to know now. So I think he gets this game. I really do think they go to him this game. But if he has another performance like that, I would not be surprised if he's the backup the rest of the season.
For me, this is a difficult situation. I disagree with not committing to Wilson, and here's why I disagree with that. The Jets are very much ahead of schedule. Look, this is still a rebuilding team. I don't care what the record says. They've played fantastic football all season. Anything that can go right for this team for the most part has, and that is what has put them ahead of schedule. They have a quarterback who's in his second year, still learning, NFL speed. Like we expected that. We expected some bumpy roads with Wilson. Maybe not this much, but to this guy's credit, he missed the first 4 games of the season. So give him some time. They just drafted Garrett Wilson. He's maybe the number 1 wide receiver since Elijah Moore's on his way out the door. It seems. I don't know. He's in the doghouse really.
He got 2 passes.
Their second round pick running back hurt. Another first round pick, top 5 pick, Sauce Gardner, cornerback, performing, outside of this world's expectations. Anything that can go right for them this is still not a team that's ready to compete for a Super Bowl. You got to let Zach Wilson keep going out there. And then, as Bill alluded to, in the offseason, you can make the appropriate adjustments there based on what he shows you in crunch time, because now the Jets are in a crunch time. They're in a position where they're going to fight for a playoff spot. You can see exactly what Zach Wilson's made of mentally. Maybe he's not the skill set that you want, and maybe you decide, hey, we'll give him another year to grow into it. But you can find out right now what Zach Wilson is made of mentally. And for me, I think being non-committal to a guy that was a number 3 overall pick or 2 overall pick 2 years ago, that speaks volumes, and not the good ones in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm right there with you. Let's see. That was the Jets Patriot. Hey, our Eagles, EAGLES, 8-1, visiting the 4-5-1 Colts. The Eagles come out victorious. They win 17-16. I think the biggest thing here is the fourth quarter comeback. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this game? Tim. Ryan, I lied. Go to Ryan.
No, he wants to go first. Yeah. My first thoughts were other than the fourth quarter, I think Miles Sanders and Boston Scott only had 8 rushes total. They do the read option pass, which is fine, but you gotta let him run the ball still once in a while. You want to keep throwing the ball to AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. They're good wide receivers. I'm not saying they're not. But sometimes the holes are there. Let him take the hole and take it. Let him run the 6 yards, get him 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, and then let him run again and get the first down. I think Miles Sanders is averaging 4.8 yards per carry or something like that.
It went down to 4.6 this past game.
Oh, I'm sorry. But Jalen Hurts, he looked good in the fourth quarter, but the other 3 quarters, he didn't look great. He made some bad decisions again. There was the interception from him in the second quarter, I think. He bounced off someone's hands. No, it was the fumble. It was the fumble of someone. It was the fumble right after
AJ Brown.
There was 4 total.
Yeah.
No. I know the fumble right at beginning of the third half. Malata got beat pretty bad. I'm sorry, it was Sanders. Got beat pretty
Sanders,
bad.
you're right.
I don't think that was Jalen Hurts' fault, but he was trying to extend the play that he shouldn't have extended. I think there was a slant going up the middle that was wide open.
There was.
Mm-hmm.
There was. However, the play was designed to go down the field, so he was scrambling to create time. However, Sanders has got to say something. My man darn near completely missed a block and didn't say anything to let Hurts know that he was about to get hit. Sanders has to say something. And listen, don't think for a second that these offenses don't have words like cue words for when somebody gets beat. They scream it so the quarterback knows, okay, he's beat, I got to move. And Sanders didn't do it. I saw the replay 5 times. Sanders didn't do anything except for miss a block, and then it caused a fumble, which led to 3 points. Good for the defense for holding him to 3 points. But Ryan, it was your turn. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Once again, Shane Steichen 2 weeks in a row. Very confusing game plan. Granted, the team overall did pretty well. Those numbers are rushing wise. Those numbers are a little inflated by the fact that Jalen Hurts had a 23-yard run. Miles Sanders went 13 for 47. I think that looks like an inefficient day, but the way that they picked their spots to run the football, a lot of third and shorts were like obvious passing situations. They were choosing to run the football. It's just a weird game plan the last couple of weeks. And I'm hoping that Shane Steichen gets right, because there was not enough running on early downs for me to sit here and say that they had a good rushing day despite the numbers. As I touched on already, Tim touched on already, 4 fumbles in the whole game for the Eagles, and they lost 2 of them. So that can't happen. The big reason why the Eagles were 8-0 was because they had 3 giveaways on the whole season. They've had
7,
5, 6 in the last 2 weeks. But I mean, it just can't happen.
5.
So they got to clean that up. Fortunately, though, I think the Colts did everything right to win this game. They did shut down the run. It was not a particularly great passing day. A.J. Brown, again, not really involved a whole lot, had that crucial fumble. Devontae Smith did have a good day, 6 catches, 78 yards. The Colts just aren't a good football team. I think that they did everything right from a schematics point. I'm going to go to the other side of the football here. Colts on offense, moving Michael Pittman into the slot more frequently than I've ever seen him, because the Eagles have 2 very good outside corners. And when Michael Pittman was on the outside, he was nowhere to be heard of. But when he was in the slot, he was torturing Josiah Scott and anybody on the Eagles that was covering him. For me, I got to recognize that as John Gannon, be like, look, I'm probably going to see some of this down the road. And I need to show Bradbury or Slay in the slot just 1 or 2 plays. Just show it. If say Alan Lazard's in the slot, I mean, the Packers don't really have a great number 1 wide receiver. I guess Christian Watson's kind of emerging there. If he goes to the slot, just show Bradbury on him once. You get teams to be like, okay, he will do it if it's necessary. Pick like a 3rd and medium, 3rd and kind of long, where it's not, a 3rd and short that's crucial. An obvious passing situation early in the game where you can recover from it, because we know Slay and Bradbury don't play the slot, but show it, because that would then get coaches recognize that stuff. That's exactly why Pittman was in the position that he was in. And to touch on Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, their signings, I'm not going to say they were the whole reason that Jonathan Taylor did not have a fantastic game, but their presence on the field definitely helped. 22 carries, 84 yards. That's sub 4 yards a carry. Fantastic. The Colts did have the right game plan. They wanted to run the football. They moved their best receiver in the slot. They're just not a good football team. If this was a half-decent football team, the Eagles would have lost this game, in all honesty.
Yeah, that's true. I'm super happy that you touched on the whole corner situation there, Ryan, because I was going to make a point at the beginning and very simply say one name, right? It's a glaring hole when Avonte Maddox is not in that slot corner position. When I'm not sure when he's supposed to come back. It's a later
down 2 to go.
Two more. Okay. So yeah, you're talking. We've got the Packers and the Titans here in the next couple of weeks, and you kind of really need to show something different. To Ryan's point,
if there are 2 games that can get away with it, it's against the Packers and the Titans, who don't have clear number 1 receiving threats. So that's a positive. The downside is, just because we stopped Jonathan Taylor under 4 yards a carry 1 game doesn't mean I'm not concerned about the run defense. And we should be very concerned about the run defense moving forward.
Absolutely, we should be concerned about the run defense. But when you shore up the passing game, it makes the run defense feel a little bit better. Again, the biggest name, the glaring name that is missing on that defense right now is Avonte Maddox. And yes, you can give all the credit in the world to James Bradbury, and you give all the credit in the world to Darius Slay, because they're playing great. C.J. Gardner-Johnson playing fantastic. It's a different dynamic on that defense, and for John Gannon calling plays when Avonte Maddox isn't on the field, and it's unfortunate that he's been injured as long as he has. But when he comes back, I think that defense looks better, and that can help shore up the run as well. You can leave a linebacker in the box instead of trying to help a weak corner, a weak nickel corner on the outside with a safety or a linebacker. You can leave that safety or the linebacker in the box, and it helps the run. I guess we should probably explain what the box is for non-football fans, huh?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the box that we're referring to is obviously there's the tackle box, where inside the tackles and the center, or and the guards in the center, is like considered a box up to the linebackers and back to the running back. And that's the box that I'm referring to. If you could put more defensive players in that box, it's tougher to run the football. That's what I keep referring to when I say the box. But yeah, for the Eagles, I think the defense will be okay, especially once Avonte Maddox gets back. I'm concerned about the offensive play calling. Timmy said it. What they have 8 total actual designed rushing plays in the first half. That's not going to get a cut. And 4.6 yards a carry that's a lot. You need to hand Miles Sanders the football. And then there were some big plays, like big scenarios on third down early in the game where we weren't inside the 20s and Miles Sanders isn't on the football field. And I don't agree with that at all. I'm sorry. Boston Scott is shifty and he can make room. That's great. Your best running back on your team is Miles Sanders and he needs to be on the field in those scenarios. So coaching right now for the Eagles has me scared because the game plan with good players, Tim, has been crap. Tim. And they've looked like it. They've come out flat, they've come out dry, and they're lucky to get out of Indianapolis with a win. Again, 2 fourth quarter touchdowns, which they haven't done the entire season. So good for them in that scenario. But
isn't it up to the players to execute the coach's crap game plan?
Well, and they did. That's why they won. But here's a question for you. So 2 weeks ago, right, everything's flying high. No pun intended for the Eagles. Then the first kind of NFL MVP talks come out, and Jalen Hurts is not at the top of the list. Do you think that there's this weird thing where they're kind of forcing Hurts to prove that he's the NFL MVP because they seem to be relying on him much more frequently the last 2 weeks than they have in other weeks?
Listen, I really like that in crunch time He's been super conservative with running the football. They've been trying to make him a pocket passer. And let's be honest, we all know Jalen Hurts isn't really a pocket passer. Does he need to be better passing the football? Yes. He's not a pocket passer. So creating a realm around him where it's like, Jalen, you need to sit in the pocket and throw the football is a mistake because he's dangerous because of his legs. So for me, I think, again, it's coaching with Jalen Hurts that's causing some of these issues. But you're right. They're dropping him back. What did he throw the ball? Or supposed to, there were, what did I say? 33 designed passing plays. A couple of them got blown up, so they don't count. And then he scrambled for yardage, which don't count. But 33 designed passing plays. I think it needs to be closer to the 28 realm. If I'm being honest, I think it needs to be closer to 28 realm, and they need to be running the ball more often. And that's how I feel about it. So for me, it's coaching. But in terms of your MVP, why are you worried about it? As a coach, why do you give it? Just go out there and be 8-1, 9-1. Who gives a shit about the MVP conversation? And that's how I feel about it. I don't know, Tim, you might feel differently. Ryan, you might feel differently. But if I'm coaching, I don't give a crap about that. I want to win a Super Bowl.
Listen, I agree with that. The coaching shouldn't be focused on the MVP right now. They need to be focused on practice, getting the game plans right. Execute
win football games.
Win the football game, and then at the end of the year, talk the MVP talk.
Exactly. Go out and perform. Let the chips fall where they may.
Exactly.
Because right now, Tua Tagovailoa is the MVP of football. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think Patrick Mahomes putting his name in that subject.
I think it's Tua. 7-0 this season with Tua playing. 0-2 without him. I think it's Tua.
Oh, no. First off, I made that point to you.
No, and you're right. And I went back and looked at it, and you're 100% correct.
The NFL voters will take those games that he didn't play into consideration and say Patrick Mahomes. Without him, the Chiefs would be doomed, and that's also correct.
Is it, though? Because we've seen big red lead teams to playoff appearances with the likes of A.J. Feely, Coy Detmer.
We've also seen him go 3-13.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. We'll have that big. We are almost an hour into the show. We're only halfway through these games. Let's rip these, boys. We do need to have an Eagles show where we just sit down and talk Eagles. Let's go. Commanders 5-5 visiting the Texans 1-7-1. Timmy and I take the Texans. Ryan takes the Commanders. Commanders obviously come out victorious. Taylor Heineke is named the starter the rest of the way through the season, even when Carson Wentz gets healthy. Obviously, that's going to be hilarious for us Eagles fans. Let's talk about that specifically. First of all, the NFC East, the AFC East, all 8 of those teams have winning records for the first time in history. And let's talk about the Commanders. Do you think the Commanders could make a legitimate push to be championship contenders?
No.
No,
especially with Tyler Heineke as quarterback.
That was
You thought
that was word. I know why you worded it that way, because obviously they're playoff contenders with the extra playoff spot, but you needed to go a little bit deeper than that. Maybe win a playoff game, maybe divisional round, but no, they're not championship contenders, despite the fact that they started out 1-4 and now they're 5-1 in their last 6.
I think as soon as Tyler Heineke loses the first 2 games, Carson Wentz will be back in the quarterback section.
I think when you come out as Ron Rivera and you say Taylor Heineke is the quarterback for the rest of the season, you kind of ride him the rest of the season. Now, you could be right. They could come out and lose the next 2 games, and he could throw 7 interceptions in that span, and maybe Wentz makes an appearance. But let's talk about Wentz for a second.
Why?
Sucks to be him. He's still getting paid no matter what.
Yeah,
Why do you
that's what I was getting at. I don't really care about his performance. The man has created robbery. He robbed the Eagles. He's robbed the Colts. Now he's robbing the Commanders. This guy is the next Chase Daniel. Let him keep going from team to team, collecting big paycheck. He's a genius.
Well, first off, he's making way more money than Chase Daniel did. And secondly, Chase Daniel never had any hand in any team winning a Super Bowl. But I understand the comparison.
Yeah. Raiders 2-7 visiting the Broncos. This is one of those games, right? Visiting the Broncos at 3-6. The Broncos are the team that all 3 of us took. The Raiders end up winning by 6 points in overtime, 22-16. This was exactly the game I thought we were going to get. This was like the makeup of the game. I think I said 21-17. So 22-16 is damn close. And these teams.
The only thing that needs to be said about this game is that if the Broncos had scored 18 points in regulation in every game they played, they'd be 9-1.
That Carson sucks.
The only game they would have lost would have been the first game to the Raiders. Like, you talk about a defense, you know, we're all sitting here slamming Zach Wilson because the defense played great and he didn't bail them out. I mean, Russ and Nathaniel Hackett are going 9 games strong with that stat.
The Denver defense is a great.
The Denver defense is elite. They are an elite Super Bowl winning defense. They have the most pathetic offense, coached by one of the most pathetic offensive-minded coaches I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Nathaniel Hackett's cooked out for this year.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
So I mean, I think Daniels for that matter, or not after this year, but when they can afford to get a new coach, he's cooked too. But
even if
I mean, you discussed it last week. Obviously, Josh McDaniel. You discussed it last week, Ryan. Josh McDaniel is the coach of the Raiders for at least the next 2 seasons because of how much they paid him. They're stuck with him. But Nathaniel Hackett, honestly, I could see a coach like Frank Reich going to the Broncos and making a little bit of a difference. I
mean, they had the right idea, the Broncos did, with getting an offensive-minded head coach in there because they need it. Their defense is always going to be good. But Nathaniel Hackett wasn't it, Chief. Tell you that.
Way to mess up, right?
Thank you.
It's just one of the – I know I keep harping on it, but it's like one of those Broncos games at the beginning of the season that was in prime time, only it wasn't in prime time, right? Like, it was just a bad game.
Thank God. It means I had something else to watch.
Bengals 5-4 visiting Steelers 3-6. The Steelers made this game what I thought it was going to be, a little bit more competitive than I think other people thought it was going to be. Ryan and I take the Steelers. Timmy takes the Bengals. Bengals come out victorious 37-30. But listen, Kenny Pickett is starting to look better, which, he's a rookie. He's gonna take his lumps. George Pickens is starting to look better. He's a rookie. He's going to take his lumps. And that defense with TJ Watt,
it's
so much better.
Yeah.
The Steelers aren't that far away from being competitive again. I still am in the corner that I think maybe Mike Tomlin isn't the coach to do it anymore in Pittsburgh. Only in Pittsburgh. He's obviously a phenomenal coach. Should get a coaching job somewhere else. But just like Big Red in Philly, Tomlin's time in Pittsburgh may be at its end, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've discussed it several times. Sometimes you just need a change of scenery after that long, and you're still an elite coach. Again, look at Big Red. So, Bengals come out victorious in this game, but the Steelers really showed me something here.
Tim,
let's talk
as
about
the
the
only
Bengals.
one that picked the Bengals, did this game go the way that you thought it would?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be high scoring. I think you pointed out at first. I said no, it wasn't going to be, but then you pointed out that the Bengals was missing 2 key players, and then that's when I decided it's going to go high scoring. I didn't think it was going to be as high scoring, but I thought T. Higgins was going to get his, and Stacy's home. I'm going to go meet myself. Oh, never mind. I got a couple more things. Never mind. See you, Sam. Sorry.
So for those of you who don't know, Timmy's wife just got home from getting her hair done, and his dogs are going batshit crazy. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So I got to say the result wasn't the way that I thought it would go. Obviously, I did take the Steelers, but this game kind of went the way that I thought it would. The Steelers defense made some big plays. They picked off Joe Burrow twice. They had a couple of key sacks there. Yeah, if it goes into a game like this, that high scoring, I thought maybe they would slightly clear the over there, but not like to this any sort of extreme measure. The Steelers just don't have it on offense to compete with a team that could score 35 points like that, especially against their defense. So, if I could do it over, obviously I'd pick the Bengals, but the Steelers did get theirs in the beginning of the season. So, splitting that, and it's about time the Bengals won a divisional game. They are now 1-3 in the division. They need to sweep out in the division. They need to really bad.
Yeah, if they're going to compete with the Ravens, you're 100% right. They do need to sweep out the division. This game did go the way I thought it was going to go. I know, except for the fact that I thought it would be the other way around. I thought it would be a 37-30 victory in favor of the Steelers. But overall, it just, again, it's a game that you should win probably handily if you're the Bengals, and you just don't look like you can do it. So I'm going to ask you a very specific question since we've gone through the Ravens and the Bengals now.
Can I finish my segment real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Like I was saying, about the Bengals, Ryan asked me if I thought it was going to go the way I thought. T. Higgins stepped up when he needed to be. He had, I think, 12 catches, 100 and something yards, 40 yards, something like that. Joe Mixon went out. The backup running back had himself a game, 3 touchdowns. P9. Ryan picked him up on waivers. But really, Kenny Pickett had himself 3 touchdown opportunities, wide open passes that he went to George Pickens in double coverage. Deontay Johnson was down the field wide open 3 different times and totally missed him.
I just don't think Deontay Johnson and Kenny Pickett have any kind of rapport with each other. And I think now looking at the situation, I'm sure that the Steelers semi-regret that 2-year $37 million, because it was 18 and a half year, $37 million deal that they gave Deontay Johnson in the offseason. I would like to touch on Najee Harris since you're talking about the Steelers. I think that, his last couple weeks since the rumor was spreading around he was going to cede touches and snaps to Jaylen Warren. That isn't the case. Najee Harris maybe finally looks like he's healthy from his Liz Frank injury that he had in the preseason. We'll see moving forward, but he looks like a different back the last 2 weeks. He looks like the running back that everybody thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. The running attack for the Steelers could definitely be better, and Najee Harris is the person to do it. So, yeah. Cowboys is America's game of the week. Cowboys 6-3. I say it that way on purpose because you guys will find out if you don't already know. Cowboys at 6-3 at Vikings 8-1. 48.5 points was the over. Just so you know, the Cowboys scored 40 by themselves, and they did not get to the over.
What was it, 40-3?
40-3 is the final. All 3 of us take the Vikings. All 3 of us are idiots. No, listen.
Vegas predicted this perfectly. They knew all along. They put the Cowboys as the favorites on the road. And, ain't it like the NFL where the Vikings come up big on the road and beat a Super Bowl contending Buffalo Bills team while the Cowboys, shudder on the road against a Packers team that's reeling for their lives, only to come around and have the Cowboys completely blow out the Vikings in Minnesota. Like that's the NFL for you. None of it makes any sense. This is really hard to predict. Let's just get that out of there.
Tony Pollard had himself a day. Over 100 yards rushing and over 100 yards receiving.
80 yards rushing, 109 yards receiving.
My fault.
And Zeke had himself a day too on my bench
touchdowns,
everywhere.
Yep. 2 touchdowns. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, the Cowboys backfield needs to look very much like third and short situations, second and short situations. Ezekiel Elliott should get the football. Everything else, Tony Pollard needs to be on the freaking football field.
That's what they basically did this game. And look what happened.
And look at what they did. I've been
Zeke
saying it all
needs
year.
to-
Tony Pollard.
Zeke needs to still get his carries. And I mean, Bill, I think you can cede that argument at this point because in a game where Zeke was coming off of being absent for 3 weeks, he only got out touched by 5 or 6 touches. So it's still Zeke's backfield, and rightfully so. I think with the Cowboys' game plan, his bruiser between the tackle style of running at this point in his career is what fits the Cowboys best. He's a great short yardage back. For years, he's been converting those 3rd and 2s, those 3rd and 1s, those goal lines. He's very efficient with his short running game. Tony Pollard is electric, though. There's no doubt about it. And unfortunately, neither one of them will be a Cowboy next year.
That's correct.
You don't think Pollard will be?
Nope.
No.
Sure won't.
Wow.
They're both free agents. They're both
correct. Neither of them will be Cowboys next year. I kind of concede the Zeke still needs his touches conversation because he is still effective with his touches, and I understand that. I'm not an Ezekiel Elliott fan.
He proved it on a goal line carry where Tony Pollard couldn't get in.
That's exactly right, which is why I'm saying he needs to be their surprise / short yardage back while Tony Pollard really takes over that backfield for the rest of the year. Again, you do it that way and they score 40 points. You can't argue with results, right? Like you just can't.
You can't.
Next game, Chiefs 8-2, well 7-2 at the time, visiting the Chargers 5-4 at the time. Chiefs come out victorious on a 1 minute and 10 second left in the game touchdown from who else other than Travis Kelce.
Hell of a damn game, dude. That's exactly what I thought the game was going to look like. Hell of a game.
That's what a primetime game should be like. You know what I'm saying? That's what it should look like.
That's the second primetime game between those two teams this year.
It is, yeah. There was a Thursday night game earlier in the year where Justin Herbert
3-point game where the Chiefs have come back in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
Travis Kelce cost me in like 2 leagues. I don't want to talk about this.
I was one of them, was I not? Oh no, that was against Ryan. Yeah, there it is. My question here is: we know what the Chiefs are. We know what the Chiefs are. We know that Big Red's got a great game plan there. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. They're really starting to mesh as a wide receiving core. My question is about the Chargers. Do you think that they're a playoff team at this point, Timmy?
What are they? 5-5.
5-5.
My preseason prediction is way off, by the way. I said 13-3 or something like that.
Yeah, you had them winning that division, I think.
I did. Yes, I did. Over the Chiefs, yes. But my prediction for the Denver was correct. I do not think they're the playoff team this year. I like Justin Herbert. I think they're going to be good. Without Mike Williams there, his red zone target, it's going to be a big difference to see who's going to step up. Josh Palmer did during that game, but let's see what else they can do. Austin Eckler got shut down in the red zone again. I don't think they are. Ryan, do you think they are?
I'm going to say take a look at the rest of their schedule because that's a tough one. So just looking at it without knowing any other information about who plays who down the stretch, the answer is no. But the AFC East still has to beat up on each other some. And if the Chargers have, a few quote unquote easier weeks, there are no gimmies in the NFL, as we just alluded to. But if they have a few easier weeks, examining this schedule, they do play the Cardinals, they play the Raiders. They actually have to play the Dolphins and the Titans. So no, because I don't think that they beat the Dolphins or the Titans, and right there that gives them 7 losses. They'd have to win every other game at that point. You can't have any slip-ups to that point. So no, I don't think that they're a playoff team. And it's not because they can't go 10-7. It's because the AFC East is just so good. But they need to make a coaching change as well. I think that they have some work to do on the offensive side of the ball. Too many injuries, man, for the Chargers.
You think Mike Wright would be a good fit there?
I think Mike Tomlin's a better fit.
I like that.
That's kind of what I was looking for right there. Is I think Mike Tomlin would be a great coach for a team like the Chargers that's so close. But if they had that extra little bit of leadership there, somebody kind of kicking in the ass, yeah. Oh yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think they're the playoff team, Bill?
No. They're as Ryan. I already thought about it prior to even asking you guys that. I wanted to see your opinions on it. No, because they do play the Titans, they do play the Dolphins, and in addition to the fact that the rest of the AFC wildcard picture looks so good, and the Chargers just haven't looked as good to keep that going. You know what I'm saying? So no, I don't think the Chargers back-to-back seasons where they don't make the playoffs. Coach has got to be gone, right? That's a team that should make the playoffs. I know you're dealing with injuries. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have been out for a lot of the season. Gerald Everett, Josh Palmer.
Look, God bless his soul for winning us the Super Bowl, but I noticed that the Eagles aren't on the injury report as much since Doug Peterson left.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true too. But no, you can't. Not for me. Do I think that they should be playoff contenders? Absolutely. We talked about it at the beginning of the season. I said it was 1 and 1A between the Chiefs and Chargers. And here we are, 1 and very low 2.
Yeah, one and a clear cut 2. But they can make the playoffs. If you're asking me, with them probably losing to the Dolphins and the Titans, if they won't slip up in any other game, I'm not betting on that, because the Chargers do have this habit of losing these really weird games to really bad teams. So
Monday night
game.
Yeah. 49ers 5-4, visiting the Cardinals at 4-6. Man, the Niners put on a clinic, didn't they? They ran the ball well. They threw the ball well. They were just effective all over the field. The defense would not let the Cardinals get anything going at any point in time. I only watched till halftime. We all three of us take the Niners.
The Cardinals only participated till halftime too.
Yeah, that's how it looked.
I mean, D-Hop got me one of my wins I needed. And then George Kittle, I was winning in one league. And then George Kittle with his second touchdown took over. Jimmy Garoppolo made the right decisions when he needed to be. He looked good. They used Christian McCaffrey more than Elijah Mitchell. You see what happened. They scored 30-something points. That's the game plan. Use Christian McCaffrey. Plain out and simple.
Yeah, I mean, they have the 3 most elite ball-in-hand guys making plays happen in the NFL. The best one at running back, the best one at wide receiver, and the best one at tight end. And there were plays where Debo was lined up in the backfield and Christian was lined out wide. And it was – if utilized properly, and Kyle Shanahan's one of the best offensive minds, you can't stop it. The only thing that's going to stop them is, can Jimmy G do what we talked about all show and make the plays that need to be made when they need to be made? The Cardinals are not a good enough football team to make them do that. Can they, if they run into the Chiefs, can they make the plays that need to be made? No. That's really that simple. That's why I'm waiting on Tom Brady to be a San Francisco 49er in 2023, because who else to distribute the football better to all these yards after catch guys than Tom Brady?
He loved the tight ends.
That's a really good point.
If you're looking for somebody to just distribute the football, look, the Trey Lance pick was kind of weird. Like, I love Trey Lance's skill set, but with that offense being as dynamic as it is, you don't need a guy who can also be dynamic in the backfield. You just need somebody to get the ball out to these guys.
Yeah.
Good offensive line, too. I think he'd be there. Good pick, man.
Niners. Are they your NFC favorite?
No.
I'm not going to waver from that from the last 2 weeks, but at the same time, I did say that the 49ers were going to be the biggest threat to the Eagles. That statement still stands very strong.
I agree with that, Ryan, 100%.
Okay, I'm right there with you guys. We're going to move into so for everybody's knowledge here, the way we sit after this past week is Tim is sitting in the basement still, but gaining 93, 76, and 1. But he didn't gain this week because we all went.
I was about to say, let's see if he did the math right here, because he said gaining and we all had the same record. I was like, let me see if he does the math right here.
Ryan, 97, 70, 71 and 1. And me, the first one to break a century mark, 102, 65 and 1.
Cheetah.
Listen, it's so close. Yeah, this is gonna be nice. I can't wait to see Timmy in a Cowboys shirt on a
What
podcast.
was my record? 97 what and what?
You, my good sir, are 97, 71 and 1.
I thought I was only 4 games behind 9, so I'm 93.
I should be 3 and
Yeah.
I think I'm 3.5 games behind Bill too. I'm not saying he's cheating. I just think he doesn't know how to do math, which is definitely
don't know how to
a
do
fair
math.
statement.
I've got 102 wins. Timmy's got 93. Ryan has 97. Do with that what you will.
I'll go back and check the math, make sure it's right.
That's fine.
Stacy, look at it tomorrow, Thursday. So don't worry
That's
about
fine. That's fine. I know my math isn't good. Let's talk about Thursday's games. Obviously, Thursday's Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all of our fans out there. Thank you for listening on Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you for watching us here on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't done so yet, I can't stress this next statement enough. Share our stuff. Please and thank you. All right, let's talk about
It's
Thursday
free
football.
to share.
Yeah, seriously. All you're doing is helping us. It hurts you so bad, doesn't it? 12:30 p.m., the early game, the Bills 7-3 visiting the Lions and 4-6. The Lions coming off of a 3-game win streak. Tim.
Give me the Bills.
Yeah. What was that supposed to make me waver in my pick?
Give me the Bills. Listen, Dennis Singletary getting touches because Josh Allen might be hurting him a little bit. I don't know what that is about, but he got, I think, 12, 13 carries the other day. James Cook getting carries. They're running the ball efficient, but they're opening the pass game more. The defense, the corners are coming back. So, yeah, definitely give me the Bills. I think they're going to cover the spread. I don't know what the over-under is. I think they're going to hit the over-under no matter what because they're both going to score, in my opinion. So
The
Yeah, I didn't get the-
over-under
I
is
didn't get the
63.
is it really?
No, I was just saying that to see if you would change your mind about no matter what it was. The Bills are favored by 9.5,
I think they cover,
and the over-under is 54.
and I think they cover.
Okay, so you got cover, Bills, and over. All right. Ryan.
This is interesting. I didn't know that. So this game's in Detroit. I don't think that the Bills cover. I do think that they win. I don't think that they cover. The Bills on the season are 5-4-1 against the spread, which means that they've probably not been covering, repeatedly in these games where they're expected to cover. So I'm taking the Bills. I take the over. I just think that the Lions defense is worse than the Bills. I think that both teams will score points. I don't think that there's any doubt about that, particularly with how suspect the Bills run defense has looked recently. But yeah, I'm going to take the Bills not to cover, but they go over the spread.
I'm right there with you. Not covering for the Bills. 9.5. You're talking a 10-point victory. That's hard to do, especially on the road against a team who scores a lot of points. So yeah, not covering Bills, but also with the over. I'm right there with you. The next game, what's the over/under on the Giants and Cowboys game?
45.5.
45.5. Dallas is favored by what?
That's not what I was making my face at this. Dallas is favored by 9.5.
Ryan.
Dallas will win. Dallas ain't covering that. You know what? I also don't think they go over either. 45.5 seems like a really low over/under, but at the same time, it's a Thursday game. They generally tend to be low scoring, and these are two good defenses. So give me the under here. I'm taking Dallas by 3 and 3 or 4 points, 21-17, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm going Cowboys by 7, and also the under. The Giants defense, it was abnormal for them to give up as many points as they did against the Lions, and I just don't see it happening again. Not in back-to-back weeks, definitely not. So give me the Cowboys not to cover the 9.5-point spread, and also to stay under the 45.5-point total. I'm thinking Cowboys by 7, 21-14, 24-17 in that range. Tim.
I thought about going on the dog here, but I guess I can't put my mind to it. All right, so give me Dallas. Tony Pollard has such a great game. I think that's going to keep feeding him. I think they're going to keep feeding him and Zeke. Part of me hope it's an upset, but give me Dallas. I think by 4, and they don't cover the spread.
And do they go over or under? 45.5.
Under.
Copy that. The Patriots visiting the 6-4 Patriots visiting the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. Vikings are favored. What is the over/under?
The over-under is 42.5. The Vikings are favored by 2.5. So Vegas,
Okay.
for those of you that watched last week when I broke it down, Vegas is saying on a neutral field, the Patriots would be giving the Vikings a 0.5 point.
Correct. I'm taking the Vikings here. They do cover. I think they've been win by more than 3 points. Listen, what they did last week against the or this past Sunday against the Cowboys, that's an anomaly for the Vikings. They don't typically play that bad. They didn't even play that bad against the Eagles when they lost on Monday Night Football to the Eagles. They didn't play well that night, but they didn't play as bad as they did yesterday or Sunday against the Cowboys. And they were coming off a super emotional win in Buffalo. They were bound to come out and kind of lay a stinker. Listen, the Vikings did the same thing in the NFC playoffs in 2017. Emotional win over the Saints in the playoffs, and then they go to Philadelphia and get stomped. It happens. It does happen. But it's an anomaly. The Vikings will bounce back. I have no doubt that the Vikings will bounce back. I do believe they cover the 2.5 point spread. And I think they stay under the 45.5 points. Tim.
42.5.
42.5. I'm sorry.
Like Bill said, the Vikings would have fallen last week. They didn't show up to play, so I think they're gonna. They were the Vikings are home this week too, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna get blown out twice back to back, lose back to back games at home at that. The Vikings are a good team, the better offensive team. I think the Patriots defense is a little bit better than the Vikings defense. So give me the Vikings not to cover, and I think it's going to go over the spread.
Okay, so not to cover? You don't think they're going to cover the 2.5 points?
I'm sorry.
You think they go over 42.5?
I'm sorry. It is to cover. I'm sorry. I thought it was the highest spread. I'm sorry. My fault.
Okay, and they go over, you said.
Yes.
Copy that. Ryan.
Vikings over or Vikings cover under. Look, this is a meh offense from the Patriots going up against a meh defense from the Vikings. Kind of expect that to neutralize. I don't think that no matter what the circumstances are, the Patriots can really get in any shootouts. And then you have a good Vikings offense versus a good Patriots defense. Those things will cancel each other out too. I see 20-17, 24-21 at best, but I think that it's under. I think that if I'm having to bet, I'm taking the under.
All right, sounds good.
You sure you want to save that for Friday?
I do, yeah.
All right.
I can literally bring it up this week, next week, 2 weeks. It's the same conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good. You guys got anything else?
No.
All right, sounds
Happy
good.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all have a safe and enjoyable holiday. And I'll repeat this one thing one more time. If you haven't done so yet, share everything we have with everyone you know. I can't stress it enough. We're trying to build a small empire here. We need your help. Please. Gabby, thank you. Orphan Rivers, thank you for your music. Stacy, thank you for your help on the chart and everything. And obviously, Allie, thank you for all the stuff you put in. That's what I'm thankful for this particular Thanksgiving. Tim?
I'm thankful for my wife for letting me be on the podcast. I am also thankful to you guys for allowing me to join your community. So, and I'm thankful to everyone who tunes in every week and listens to us.
Attaboy, Timmy. Ryan?
Thankful for fast cars and Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Thank you for joining us here on BSing Sports. We're a part of the BSing Network where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night. you.